They hid this from fans and rivals, a tiny tweak that flipped a championship. Telemetry, radio, leaked files, you name it, and just stay with me and get ready, because the clincher is at the end and it will make you question every safety car and every pit stop you thought you understood. In Formula One, tenths matter, secrets matter more, and sometimes winning happens off track. Over the next 8 minutes, we'll unpack 7 of the sport's most shocking scams, loopholes, and borderline genius moves, from files that vanished into rival garages to crashes staged for advantage. And at the end, you'll hear the one piece of proof that ties them all together. Stick with the telemetry, because the data tells a different story than the podium photos. First, the paper war. Imagine internal setup notes, hundreds of pages handed to a rival. That was Spygate, leaked engineering secrets that made entire race strategies readable to someone else. When teams can copy setups designed for a unique track and unique tires, competitive advantage jumps instantly. That was what happened in 2007 involving the McLaren and Ferrari teams, where Ferrari engineer Nigel Stepney passed confidential technical information to McLaren engineer Mike Coughlin. The result was massive fines and a collapse of trust. More than money changed hands, reputations did. In F1, the real battle often starts in the paddock with a PDF, not on the grid. Next, Crashgate. In Singapore, 2008, Nelson Piquet Jr. later told investigators he was ordered to crash deliberately, to trigger a safety car and hand a huge advantage to his teammate Fernando Alonso, with team figures including Flavio Briatore and engineer Pat Simons implicated in the plan. The fallout was massive. Bans were imposed, and Renault received a suspended penalty. And the case remains one of motorsport's darkest moments because it wasn't a mechanical failure, it was an instruction. From sabotage to software, many of F1's messiest moments come from gray area tech, engineers finding advantages the rulebook didn't imagine. Benetton and 1994 launch traction control allegations. In 1994, the Benetton team faced allegations around hidden code in their engine management and possible launch control style behavior. Engineers and FIA investigators dug into onboard software and ECU menus. Some suggested option 13 or hidden launch modes were present, though Benetton argued the code was redundant and not in race use, and the FIA ultimately said there was insufficient proof to exclude them. That season showed how software can sit in the shadows and create years of doubt. Weight, ballast, and water tricks, historical examples. Going back further, teams have used ballast and water systems as competitive tricks, the classic case being lead shot or water tanks that let cars run underweight during the race, then be topped up for scrutineering. Tyrrell's lead shot water tank controversy and several early 80s underweight disqualifications taught the paddock a harsh lesson. If you can engineer around the scale, you can buy lap time, but you also risk a career. Fuel flow and Ferrari 2019 investigation. In the hybrid era, the fuel flow sensor became the new focal point. Rivals accused Ferrari of methods that could have masked higher fuel flow and thus more power. The FIA carried out a long technical investigation and eventually reached a confidential settlement with Ferrari. The fallout led the FIA to introduce stricter fuel flow monitoring and a second FIA-controlled sensor to close possible loopholes. That episode underlined how modern cheating allegations often live in the electronics and plumbing, not just on the wing. Legal innovation, Mercedes, DAS, and Flexi aero patterns. Sometimes the cheat is an invention the rules didn't foresee. Mercedes's dual-axis steering, a system that let drivers change front toe by pushing and pulling the steering column, was legal in 2020 but expressly banned for 2021, after rivals raised concerns because it created an advantage the regulators hadn't intended. Similarly, movable or flexing aero that passes static tests but behaves differently at speed can give tenths per lap. It's clever engineering, but the FIA responds when enough teams complain. So, how are these uncovered? 3 tools: telemetry, radio recordings, and paperwork. Telemetry can show power spikes or mapping that human hands can't explain. Radio can reveal intent or suspicious editing. Paperwork, invoices, emails, leaked PDFs turns talk into proof. When two of those three line up, the case becomes hard to ignore. If you want to spot a likely cheat, look for this trio: a radio clip that vanishes or is redacted, a telemetry spike that doesn't match driver input, and a sudden paperwork change or leaked file. Individually, they're suspicious. Together, they make a pattern investigators can't ignore. Which controversy changed your mind about a race result? Comment below. I'll pin the most convincing three. If you want the raw telemetry and the lap markers for the clincher, hit like and subscribe. And watch the next video, Most Inappropriate F1 Moments Ever Recorded. The deep dive data cut drops next. Remember, in F1, the checkered flag is only part of the story. The real victory is often decided in silence, in software, and in secrets.